Good morning. It's 10:02 and we will begin. Thank you to everyone for being here today for the Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation's first executive session of the 116th Congress. Before we move to consider the committee rules, I would like to take a moment to thank my colleague, Senator Thune, for his leadership of this committee over the past 4 years. During his tenure, the committee has worked tirelessly and largely on a bipartisan basis to set policy for our nation's future in technology, aviation, transportation, scientific research, consumer protection, and many other areas. I look forward to working with Senator Thune in his new capacity as chairman of my former subcommittee, the Communications, Technology, Innovation, and the Internet Subcommittee, where we work together with Senators Nelson, Schatz, and others to enact the first reauthorization of the Federal Communications Commission in nearly 3 decades, and many other landmark communications bills on a bipartisan, bicameral basis. So thank you, Senator Thune. I would also like to congratulate the committee's new ranking member, Senator Cantwell. Senator Cantwell has been a valued member of the committee for many years, and I have no doubt we will continue the spirit of bipartisanship and accomplishment in the committee and work well together. We represent 2 coastal states, and we share an interest in a number of issues such as Coast Guard oversight and ocean observing. Senator Cantwell has been an active ranking member on our Transportation Subcommittee and very committed to rail issues. Her byword has been "freight can't wait," and I agree. Perhaps we can add passenger rail to that expression, making sure the Gulf Coast Amtrak route is finally restored while ensuring our goods reach their destinations efficiently. I'm also pleased to welcome 4 new members of the committee. I will ask Senator Cantwell to say a few words about our new colleagues on the Democratic side of the aisle, but it is with great pleasure that I introduce the 2 new Republican members, Senators Marsha Blackburn and Rick Scott. I look forward to working with Senator Blackburn again. We overlapped in the House, and I am excited to have another Mississippian on the committee, albeit a Mississippian on loan to the great state of Tennessee. I know her expertise on tech and telecom issues from her time as chair of the Subcommittee on Communications and the Internet at the Energy and Commerce Committee in the House will make her a valuable addition to this committee. It's also great to welcome another Gulf Coast senator to the committee in Senator Scott. The Commerce Committee has jurisdiction over a great deal of issues, especially relevant to Florida, and I know Senator Scott will draw upon his business experience and time as governor to bring a different perspective to the committee as he continues to represent the priorities of Floridians. Senator Cantwell, would you like to introduce our other 2 new committee members at this point? Well, I thought, okay, then she'll do that during her statement. We won't go back and forth. In addition to the new subcommittee members on our side of the aisle, we also have newly reconfigured subcommittees and some new leadership. The 6 subcommittees and their chairs are Communications, Technology, Innovation, and the Internet, chaired by Senator Thune; Aviation and Space, chaired by Senator Cruz; Transportation and Safety, chaired by Senator Fisher; Manufacturing, Trade, and Consumer Protection, chaired by Senator Moran; Security, chaired by Senator Sullivan; and Science, Oceans, Fisheries, and Weather, chaired by Senator Gardner. The bar has indeed been set high. This subcommittee accomplished a great deal last Congress, and I look forward to similar successes this Congress. In particular, I see this committee focusing on a number of primary objectives across the committee's broad jurisdiction. The broadband connectivity is the digital engine driving investment innovation, and productivity in virtually every economic sector in the United States. Although we have made significant progress on wireline, wireless, and satellite broadband deployments over the years, more needs to be done to close the digital divide, particularly in rural America. This process should start with collecting standardized and accurate data about where reliable fixed and mobile broadband already exists and where it does not, both in my state of Mississippi and around the country. Data is critical to delivering broadband to rural communities that lack service. We will also continue the committee's efforts to maintain U.S. leadership in 5G, the next generation of broadband services. To that end, modernizing outdated rules that delay and add unnecessary cost to broadband infrastructure deployment and making more spectrum available for commercial use will be critical to our nation's success in developing a reliable, resilient, and secure 5G network. Robust and reliable broadband connections underpin the Internet marketplace, where innovative applications and services are taking on more significant and vital roles in our lives. Maintaining consumer trust and confidence in this marketplace is critical to preserving a prosperous and thriving digital economy in the United States. A priority of this committee will be to protect the privacy of consumers' data in a way that promotes industry transparency, consumer choice, and innovation. We will continue our efforts to keep the skies safe and foster American leadership in outer space. These efforts will include oversight of the Federal Aviation Administration and the safe integration of unmanned aerial systems into the national airspace. They will also, I hope, include a commercial space bill and a National Aeronautics and Space Administration reauthorization. With the creation of a new security subcommittee, we will be able to focus on supporting the organizations such as the Coast Guard, Maritime Administration, and Transportation Security Administration, whose efforts strengthen the nation's economic prosperity and security. I hope these efforts will include Coast Guard and Maritime Administration reauthorizations, support for the American maritime industry, and a focus on the national security dimensions of agencies and issues under the committee's jurisdiction. I look forward to the committee continuing its work on improving the nation's infrastructure and safety. Work this Congress will likely include a pipeline safety reauthorization as well as the reauthorization of the FAST Act. We will also focus on motor carrier safety, multimodal freight, as well as our nation's rail and Amtrak, and look forward to working with the administration on shoring up the Highway Trust Fund as well as meeting the nation's ever-increasing infrastructure needs. This is by no means a complete list, although it has been a lengthy one. There are many other high priorities the committee will consider. I look forward to working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle on a range of issues important to their states and to all Americans. I thank my colleagues again for giving me the opportunity to lead this great committee. In a moment, we will turn to today's agenda, and we'll begin by approving the committee rules. But first, I turn to Ranking Member Cantwell for whatever remarks and introductions she might like to make.